Welcome back to the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased, except ours. I'm Colin.
I'm Craig.
The other guy.
And I'm Daniel.
Right. So, Craig, how about you introduce what we're going to be talking about today?
So, another video game, shockingly. Yes. But this time we will not be covering anything. Well, it's still new, but it's a remake of the original Diamond and Pearl from way off in 2007.
You're talking about Pokémon, right? Because there's multiple games to name Diamond and Pearl in them.
Right. Like, yeah, my mistake. Yeah, Pokemon Diamond and Pokemon Pearl from the Pokemon Company. For any confused people out there.
Right.
Yeah, it's a remake from 15 years ago, and quite simply, it's faithful to a fault.
Yeah, I would definitely agree, especially since most of the games that came after it, they improved a lot of the qualities, such as the TMs, which are so annoying that they break. Gen 5 introduced where TMs don't break. You can use as many TMs as you want, and that is perfect. That is amazing. But yeah, Brilliant Diamond is too much like Diamond and Pearl, where it's like they really didn't really, besides graphics, they didn't really improve upon anything.
That's my main point. Like, people who play will like maybe not see what the issue is. Like Daniel, for instance, he never played the originals. He may not see what the issues are. Like, to me, it's not a bad game per se. It's a terrible remake. Especially when there's like with Pokemon, they have third versions. This had Platinum, which was basically a better Diamond and Pearl, which they should have pulled more from, or at least use that as the base, then tweak it. But they chose not to for whatever reason. They chose to be as faithful as possible, and just a mind-bogglingly horrible decision. I know it's sold well, but critically, it's not doing too well because everyone's like, "What's the point in playing it? It's like the same thing as the original."
Yeah, so I guess let's talk about some differences. They got rid of the whole underground system in the original. Now they have the Grand Underground. The GTS, the Grand Terminal, where you use Nintendo Wi-Fi to trade other people, is replaced with whatever is in this one. I don't remember off the top of my head what it is. But it's a lot worse than what it was in the original, because the GTS in the original, you could actually choose which Pokemon you want to trade for, and you'd put something out, and hopefully someone would take it. That was so much
funny.
Better.
I remember he would always be like, "Oh, I want like a Dialga, and I'll give you like a Bidoof for it."
I think you could also specify if it was shiny or not. I don't remember.
I know you could specify the level. I don't remember if you could specify shiny.
Yeah, you're probably right. I don't think you could.
See, I never knew that they switched that. That you could actually trade specifically, like knowingly what you're gonna get.
Yeah, it was the best part too is this was their first time doing it. Like, they kind of had obviously you could always tweak it, but like it was a pretty good system the first time, and they just scrap it, and it's never been the same even at like a Gen 5 onward.
No, it was the same in Gen 5.
Oh, it was?
Yeah. I got a shaman, a shiny shaman with a Japanese name, and that was it. They like maxed out everything. It was incredible for me.
Did you ever translate his name?
No, you can't. If you get a traded Pokemon, you cannot.
You said translated. Did you like look up?
Oh, I knew it was shame. I mean, I hope it was. I don't know what they put. Honestly.
Like stupid American.
Yeah, American pig.
But I was gonna say is because they didn't do
oh my god.
Oh my god, sorry. Okay. As I was saying before Craig rudely interrupted me, I was because it was weird that they didn't update the TMs, considering that they updated they did like team, your entire team gained experience, and that was after Gen 4, right?
It was after Gen 5.
Well, the experience is from Gen 6, but the Unbreakable TMs is from Gen 5.
No, but they're they added the Gen 6 thing of their team now gains experience. They updated that. I don't know why they just didn't update the TMs.
that's the thing too. Like a lot of the choices. I mean, I guess before you go to that, we should clarify. I actually have not played these games, but it's pretty clear as to why I did not play it. Colin's actually played both the original and the remake. I only played the original. Daniel's only played the remake. Just to clarify, but that's the thing too. A lot of these changes they made that they kept. It's like, why would you change that or bring that back instead? I don't know, it didn't make too much sense to me. Like you said, like why would they have the experience system, but not have the unbreakable TMs when the unbreakable TMs is much more of a quality of life change than the experience sharing.
And then to get new TMs of certain ones, you have to get a ridiculous amount of BP points, and that's just annoying and inconvenient for everybody.
Yeah, stuff like that, and then here's a change I never got to. Like in the platinum had a bigger Pokédex, regional Pokédex, right?
I did not remember that. No.
Well, they did, and because in the original Diamond and Pearl, you
It was
actually
150 or 151.
yeah, but the thing is, in the original, you couldn't actually um, get like a Togekiss. You couldn't get Electivire. You couldn't get a lot of the new Pokemon they introduced because they kind of blocked it till after you got the or after you became the champion. So in normal playthrough, you couldn't get these Pokemon. Platinum fixed that because it was like I never understood why they did it in the first place, but Platinum fixed that. In this game, for some reason, decides you know what? Let's not keep the better regional Pokedex and let's go back to the original.
Yeah, considering the fact that in, let's say, Leaf Green, it was the exact opposite. You can get any Kanto Pokemon you want pre National Dex, besides the legendaries and stuff. But you can get anybody, and only after that you could start trading with Emerald or any of those to get Johto and Hoenn. So even Leaf Green did that right.
I mean, they did have the thing where if you had a Golbat, you couldn't get a Crobat until after you did that, but that's I feel like okay in that sense
Well,
because you're still getting the
yeah,
Pokemon.
most of them is that until you can become champion, you get all the Kanto Pokemon, and then you get more when you get the Johto and Hoenn after you become champion. You beat that schmuck Gary.
Yeah, just again, like I don't understand like the thinking of it, and it affects too like all the gym leaders and people who battle because then there's a smaller pool of Pokemon to pick through. For example, in the Elite Four, the Fire type guy only has 2 Fire types to even pull from. Like I think in was it Diamond and Pearl, Flint can only use Infernape and Rapidash. While in Platinum, he has access like Magmortar, Houndoom, and I think another Fire type. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember that off the top of my head.
But what I'm saying is like these were definitive improvements that Platinum made to Diamond and Pearl, and they didn't include it. And I don't understand why. Like that's why I said faithful to a fault because I can't understand why you would make that change unless you're trying to be faithful, like stupidly faithful.
Well, yeah, and also Platinum is just infinitely better than Diamond and Pearl because it's the same game but combined, and you can do so much more. Like the resort area, I remember you could get a house in Platinum. And I remember I asked you like, "Oh, how do I get the house?" And you said you can't. That was only in Platinum. And a big
Yep.
tear rolled down my side of my face.
I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. And I know even before, like when the game was first shown off, that it was basically like a remake of the DS graphics. People were upset, which didn't bother me because I feel like people wanted like Sword and Shield graphics, like running around and stuff like that. I'm like, well, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Like, I'm not mad either way. Like, I think either way was fine.
I think the biggest problem with Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl is that it didn't really need a remake because it wasn't like the DS is super like outdated in terms of Pokemon. Because let's think about when they did remakes. They had the original, and then had Leaf Green, huge graphical update, and then there's just a lot more you could do. You couldn't even see your PC box in the original game. It just gave you a list of names of who's in the box. It's a big jump from Gen 1 to Gen 3 when they did the remake. Same with Gen 2, and then they remade Heart Gold, and they remade Gold Silver. And Heart Gold and Soul Silver also included some of Crystal, right, Craig?
It included a lot of stuff from Crystal. That's why it's so beloved because instead of being again a faithful remake, they added more from Crystal, and they just added a ton of stuff onto it just for the fun of it. They kept adding stuff.
So what wasn't, not to go too off track, but what wasn't in the originals that's in Crystal or that's in Heart Gold and Soul Silver?
I mean, not much, but like one of the big things is like the Suicune storyline. And I know that was the first game you could play as a female playable character, if you cared. I mean, again, those weren't.
Daniel cares.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Women's rights activist over there. Like I said, there wasn't too much changes between like the original Crystal. Like it's into like yellow and red and blue. I mean, there wasn't too much change.
No, I was talking about from the original Gold and Silver to Heart Gold and Soul Silver.
Oh, I thought you meant from gold and silver to crystal.
No.
Oh. Oh yeah, I mean, again, a lot of like, well, some of his being in Gen 4, like the physical special split, but they added a lot. I mean, you go down the list on like Wikipedia, all the stuff they changed, but it was a lot. Like they added, the Pokeathlon, they added the Battle Frontier, which they didn't need to. A lot of changed like to the route and stuff to make it better.
Pokewalker, can't forget that.
Oh yeah, the Pokewalker, which I think they did a study, and that was like at the time the most accurate like step counter on the market.
Really?
Just kind of funny when you think about it.
Some dumb add-on.
Like I don't know if they really put too much thought into it, but end up being better than the other ones out there.
Huh.
I think they added some new routes. They added the safari. I mean, they added a lot of stuff to get to the point. And it felt
Didn't
like,
add the Sevi Islands, and they could have, and they didn't.
I mean, they could have, I guess, but I feel like at that point we're just nitpicking. I feel like to bring this up too, because I feel like when you remake a game, just updating the graphics to me is not enough. I know some people are like cavemen out there and they see good graphics, they're like, ooh, ooh, and they start slobbering. Because to me, because
Go
like
up and touch the screen. Oh.
Yeah, it's like it's discovered fire. Because I mean, a different game, but like The Last of Us was remade for the PS5, and people are like, losing their mind over it, and it's like it's the same game. Like it's hardly a difference.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't care for like the cutscenes and like how realistic the characters look. I'm more interested in the gameplay.
well, not even that. I'm just saying, like, to me, a remake, I feel like should be the definitive way to play the game, like how Platinum was
Yeah,
the definitive way to experience Gen 4.
well,
These
yeah,
remakes should
that's
have
what I
been the
mean. Yeah.
definitive experience, and they simply aren't. They're marginally better than the original Diamond and Pearl, if that. Platinum is still the better game, which it's kind of shocking.
Yeah, the only thing that Diamond has going forward is they correctly have like the Professor Oak letter, which wasn't released in America, but Craig and I had that because years ago Craig got an action replay, and our Diamond and Platinum, we had the Shaman,
We hacked it.
Arceus. Yeah, Craig hacked it. I hacked mine too. But they added that concretely in Brilliant Diamond, and they also got rid of Pal Park in Brilliant Diamond. And Pal Park was pretty much you could export Pokemon from. I think you could do from Gen 1 to Gen 3. I know you could do Gen 3, definitely. But you just put the
Yeah,
Game Boy pack into the DS, and then you could permanently take Pokemon from those previous gens and put them in Gen 4. And they got rid
and
of that for
people,
like a legendary safe haven, Ramos Park, Ramus,
yeah,
whatever
I
it's
mean,
called
people
now.
try to point that out as like a huge improvement, as like a win over the people who say Platinum's better. I'm like, but the thing is, you couldn't. If you remade the game, it doesn't have the same function anymore because you don't have access to the dual slot DS.
Yeah, it would be impossible.
Yeah, so like you kind of have to do something with it. Like you have to make a change. So I don't know. That's not really when people say like, "Oh, now there's fairy types added to the game." Like, well, you couldn't cut it. I mean, you couldn't change Togekiss back to a normal flying type. Like, of course it's going to be in the game. I don't know. People act like that's like a win over the original, and I don't understand that kind of logic.
Yeah, because I don't really care for more legendaries in the game. Like that won't win me over. I'll be like, oh, Ho-Oh is in Diamond, Brilliant Diamond. That's cool, I guess, but it's not gonna make me think it's better than the original. Because the original, is probably like it's sad to say that Brilliant Diamond you can't confidently say is better than the original.
And again, the fact that I feel like there's even discussion is a huge problem.
Unless you're like a brain dead moron, I think anyone can say that Heart Gold and Soul Silver is better than the originals. Leaf Green and Fire Red are better than Gen 1, even though there's probably idiots out there that would disagree.
Oh, there
This
are.
is
Because they'll say,
nostalgia.
"Oh, I love the glitches."
Yeah, Lance is a giant cheater in Gen 1. He has a level 54 Dragonite. You can't do that. It's impossible. And like I said, you can't even see your PC box. It is so primitive, and Gen 3 just Leaf Green just improves upon everything in that game. They even add the Sevi Islands. So much you can do. So if you think
And
that Fire and Red or Blue and Red are better, then you're just wrong and just jump out a
I,
window.
yeah, because all they ever point to is like all the glitches and all the bugs in the original Gen 1 games. Like I feel like if I think they said like if your speed stat was like really high, that increased your critical hit chance.
Oh, jeez.
So not only are
YouTube's
you
going
faster, you're hitting
crazy.
harder. Yeah, so it's really stupid, but people like that for that reason, which I don't understand. I mean, it can be fun to cheese, sure, but like as a full game experience, it's not fun. Like when you're getting cheesed and things aren't working as intended. That should not be considered a pro.
Right, right. Well, we sound like the old timers talking about the original game. Let's hear from Daniel's perspective because he's never played the originals, and we'll gain insight from him. Start talking now.
I'm the youngin. It's kind of funny, like I was gonna say the Trek. I'm going back in time, as you guys like. I started with Arceus, and now I'm working back. But I liked it overall. Obviously, I don't have the same complaints about it as you guys because I didn't play it. But even comparing it to like Sword and Shield or Arceus style, um, I definitely didn't like. I do like the Unbreakable TMs. I it's kind of hard for me because I started with Arceus and I really liked Arceus' style the most out of those
Everybody
three.
everybody feels like that way, so don't feel bad.
Yeah, like you don't have to fight every Pokemon you come across. You can actually choose. I don't mind the old style of moving around the map, like where you're not sprinting, like you have to use a bike or whatever in the routes. For me, it kind of gave like more of a nostalgic feeling in a sense. But I didn't mind anything really too much about it. The only thing I just didn't like the TMs breaking the limited ones. Like I just, especially after the other ones all have the unlimited ones, I really don't like that at all. But yeah, I mean for the most part, I really I enjoyed it for what it was. But obviously, my perspective is limited on what I actually have a problem with too much.
I was gonna say too, like I know like Sword and Shield was definitely easier, which I feel like this game is definitely more challenging. Not that
Yeah, that especially the gyms, like the gym leaders, the battles, it is definitely harder. Especially with Sword and Shield, like even your rival felt tougher. Like in Brilliant Diamond, your rival felt like an actual rival somewhat as compared to Hop.
the village idiot.
Yeah, Hop is a
Yeah,
brain dead moron.
and also too like the gym challenges, like getting to um the gym, the gym trainer definitely was more time consuming and tedious. Like, the amount of goons you had to fight on the way in to get to the trainer, and then you had to also like some of the gyms, like the specifically like the ice one, where
Oh, the
you had to
puzzles.
get rid of all what?
The puzzles.
Yeah, oh no, that one was the
You
uh
have to run around in the correct path to take out all the ice
yeah, the
balls.
snowballs. Yeah, the and or even like the water gym where you have to like hit the right buttons, and then um the fighting gym, you have to push the things while also fighting every other person in the way, as opposed to in Shield it was the grass gym where you're just herding a bunch of sheep.
But I like
You just have
fighting all those trainers because that was just your final round of XP before you
oh
die.
no, oh no, no, I wasn't complaining.
Oh,
I'm just saying like it was more strategic and tedious. Like it takes longer, but you're grinding, you're getting extra XP before you go fight the gym trainer who actually felt like a challenge. Like the Sword and Shield ones, really the gyms kind of are like a cakewalk. I feel like compared to the brilliant, the ones in Brilliant Diamond. But I didn't mind it at all. Like I remember Colin, you when because you played Sword and Shield after we played it, and I just remember hearing you. You're like, "What is this? I have to herd sheep." um, so that I enjoyed the more challenging aspect of it. Especially like when you actually like have to use your entire team. And you can't just solo the trainers. Pokemon. You actually have to move. It's more strategic to it.
Because again, people will
yeah,
always say like,
Credito. Yeah.
because people always say, "Oh, Pokemon's a kids game, right? Who cares how difficult it is?" Well, it's true. The target audience is for kids. It shouldn't be, you click one button and win. Like you should have to, rub two brain cells together and actually think about what you're doing. Because people often get that confused. People want like a hardcore Pokemon game, which they will never make because that's not their target audience. But I do agree that they should make it where it's not brain dead. Like this Diamond and Pearl. Like I know I didn't fight Cynthia, but apparently she was a lot tougher this time around, and people actually lost to her.
That's if
I
you
don't, I don't think.
battle her, I think. Like you
I mean, I
redo
don't think.
Elite Four.
I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think you guys ever lost to her, but just the fact that you could lose to her is enough of
Well,
a.
I mean, you're it definitely, you at least for me, like, there were times I had to revive most of my team to keep, like throughout the fights and stuff. Like I'd have to revive Pokemon during the fights, to keep to get a certain one back or to keep the fight going. So it was more of it definitely was challenging compared to the Sword and Shield. Like Sword and Shield, I felt like um I ran through that. I had like maybe, I'd have to switch out one other Pokemon, but for the most part, I mean, you could solo them if you got the right typing.
Not only could you soul them, but like I was so dominant, I felt bad. You're beating these people. It's like I feel bad for you because of how awful you are at your job.
Yeah, like you would think like each gym trainer was like Hop in disguise.
He's probably gonna kill. If that was him, he probably would have killed himself because it's so embarrassing.
And we
No, he
forgot to
wouldn't,
mention
because his
one
throat was
big
the champion.
difference was the removal of HMs in this
Oh
one.
yeah, I mean,
I didn't care that you'd have an HM slave in the originals.
Bidoof basically.
Yeah, it'd be Bidoof, or sometimes it'd be like a Pidgeotto. I had a
Staraptor.
Braviary, Staraptor. I never really cared that there were HM slaves. It never bothered me.
Yeah, see, I feel like we're grandfathered in. Well, I don't know if Daniel would like it as much, but that's why I never mind either. Right? Because again, I feel like we're grandfathered, and that's how it's always been. So you're kind of just used to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you boomers hate change.
See, the thing is, I don't mind like if they got rid of HMs being like a move you had to use. Like I feel like I think I said this in our previous Pokemon episode, but I feel like HM should be implicitly known, or like they should know. Like a Staraptor doesn't need to be taught fly; it can just fly. Like you
Yeah,
don't. I never got why they just didn't do that.
Oh, I don't know.
No, I'm saying that to me makes more sense. Like, so you still have to have the Pokemon in the field to do the moves, but you're not wasting move slots on it.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
I always thought that was like the easy solution where, but what do I know?
The only time
yeah.
HMs got annoying was when you needed defog or flash. That was when it was
Yeah.
annoying, but very seldom did they ever have that.
Well, I think Flash is as a TM now, but
No. Well, back then,
yeah,
like
some
in
games it
Mount
was a
Moon, you had to do that.
yeah.
When life was black and white.
No.
No, I get you. Like, I know that's a win for most people, but like, it never bothered me. And again, I feel like there's a much easier solution that they are just never going to implement.
Yeah, probably
I
not.
mean, I wouldn't have mind the HM. Like you're saying HM sleeves. I mean, I wouldn't have cared for that. Like, not that I no, not that I would have hated it. It's a part of the game.
Yeah, because everyone knows you'd have 5 Pokemon ready to battle, and your HM slave was always the one that you'd use to revive other ones. So you just throw them in there if your main Pokemon was down.
And Bidoof was so perfect. Like, it was made to be the perfect HM slave. It could learn everything but like fly and defog.
Yeah, like
It
Strength,
was
Butt, Rock Smash.
it was perfect.
I mean, I don't mind that. It gives him a purpose. Like, what else are you going to use Bidoof for?
Built in.
Seriously. Like, besides, like, once you get past, like, the first part of, like, low-level Pokemons, are you ever going to use one again? Or, like, or even Bieber, like, are you ever going to actually use him? It gives
I
them
mean, I
a,
know I
gives
wouldn't,
them,
but
yeah, it gives them a purpose. I don't mind that.
Because I don't know, when did they get rid of HMs?
that was Gen, I think,
Was that Gen
7.
6? Oh, Gen 7.
Because that's when you could like call like a Charizard to fly. You could call like a Tauros to run or something and break the
Ah.
rocks. I
And
don't
for
know.
me personally, I never minded individually grinding Pokemon. That's how I've
See,
always done it. And now that everyone gets a boost, it kind of makes your whole team overpowered because
I
everyone's
don't
getting XP at the same time.
I think it's like a double-edged sword, like, or it's like a double. You can look at it either way. Because you can also say, like, you just have one really strong Pokemon, but in a more strategic way, you want to keep your team
Well, then you have to
like
train
even.
your second behind. It's that simple.
see. The thing is, like, I actually like the experience share. The only problem is they don't uh, design the game for it. Especially this game, the original Diamond and Pearl was designed for the original experience system. Having the experience share kind of helps break the game a bit because it wasn't designed for that. Because they kept all the trainers at the exact same levels, same teams, no changes because they're idiots.
Yeah.
But the thing with the experience share too is, from what I understand, most RPGs already have like the all experience share. Like, there's no one person getting all the experience. Like, you really have more like a party experience, and you can kind of plug people in. I mean, I could be entirely wrong, but that's usually what I've seen. Like, you don't have to worry about train. I mean, you could still grind to get higher levels, but your team is not like you're gonna have one member who's like level 5 and another member level 50.
That's how I always did it. I always had like one super strong one, especially in, let's say, Leaf Green. I would fight wild Pokemon just to get, even though it was so tedious and took forever, just to be like 10 levels higher than the next gym. And that's just with one Pokemon. Yeah, if he goes down, I'm kind of screwed. That was always the fun of it. You relied on one Pokemon until you get to like
Yeah,
the Elite Four.
yeah, but I also hate grinding. So the less grinding I have to do, the
Ugh.
better.
Ugh.
I don't know, I kind of also like having your team equal, so you can use them all. You're not just relying on the one. Because like for this, like, Brilliant Diamond, like, especially when the gym trainers are tougher, and they actually can go through
I
most
wouldn't
of
say
your
they're tougher. Only
Pokemon.
the Elite Four on the rematch they're tougher.
Well, I'm saying tougher compared to like Sword and Shield.
Oh yeah, yeah, they were.
Yeah, yeah, they're a joke. But I was saying, the point I was saying was that I like that they're if they're wiping out, if they knock out two of my Pokemon, I know the other four at least stand a chance, or they knock out your top one, at least the rest of my team, even if I lose most of them, they at least have a chance to fight. Because if I lose the top one, I'm done.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I mean, I understand the kind of like 'cause that's how I used to play too before they
Yeah.
had the experience share. I would have, my Torterra 20 levels higher than everyone else and just kind of steamrolling everybody.
Yeah, like when I played Emerald last year, my Swampert was like at the eighth gym, he was like almost 70 or like 60 something, and the next one was like Houndoom, and he was 30 something.
And the reason he was so high is because you have to double battles.
Yeah, that's how he stuck around kind of because that game had so many double battles.
I don't know. I'm okay with the experience share, but then again, like that's become a staple. Like I don't think adding it is a pat in the back kind of move. I mean, that's how they want the games to design going forward.
Yeah, and when did they add that?
So I think that was added in Let's Go Pikachu and no, it was added in X and Y because
Which
that's
is
that
that
was the
6?
controversy. Yeah,
Oh.
because people were kind of mad. Although I think you could turn it off, but at that time, but people were kind of mad, like, "Oh my god, it's so much easier." I'm like, well, they could just design it like normal people, but they don't want to.
Because just for some context, I played almost all of them up until after Gen 5. And then for a while I didn't play Pokemon. So I did. I mean, I have like X, and I think I have Y. I don't remember which one I have. I have Omega Ruby, one of those. I just didn't play them because I don't know. I didn't like when they added the fairy type because I like the dragon types a lot. So when they added those goobers, I didn't play as much
Also,
anymore.
I mean, you'd miss a lot. Like, Gen 6 was probably the worst gen, and then like Gen 7 wasn't much better, and then Gen 8, except
Good.
for Arceus, isn't
Greg will
much
probably
better.
say Gen 4 is the best, but Gen 5 is probably my favorite. That one is so much fun, and I like Gen 4 too. Don't get me wrong, but I also like Leaf Green a lot.
Well, yeah, those are typical people say is the best. Like, I'm okay if someone says Gen 5 is the best, but like if they put like Gen 3 or Gen 6, especially
No,
Gen
no,
6, you think Gen 6 is the best, you should be taken
no,
it back and like have
no.
your head examined with a shotgun. Because you are undoubtedly wrong. Like, that is horrible to think that.
I wouldn't say Gen 3 is the best, but I
Well,
do like I like
you
some
say
Leaf
Gen
Green.
6 is the best. You deserve to be examined with a shotgun.
Craig, I remember you showed me like the Gen 6 starters, and I was like, oh god.
Like, you think that's bad? The Gen 8 ones are the worst.
Oh yeah.
Inteleon, right? Isn't he one of them?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's Sobble. I forget the name of Cinderace's starter, and
a
who's the
Grookey, right? Rillaboom,
Yeah, the
yeah
monkey.
Gorilla sorry.
whatever.
Yeah,
Turns
yeah,
into a monkey.
Grookey, Sobble, who was Inteleon starter, and Cinderace's starting form. I forget the name of it, but yeah, because I remember I got rid of I only used until I could get the Pokemons I wanted, and then I just dumped them. I don't think I ever ranked him up to an Inteleon. I think I just left him somewhere. I was just like, yeah, whatever. I didn't care for him.
Not like Torterra. I would never box Torterra.
No, Torterra, him I for Brilliant Diamond I've kept him on my squad. An absolute unit.
So another thing, like, and another one of you played the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which is another remake I did not like, but not as bad as this one.
No.
But did you know like they didn't include they didn't include the Battle Frontier, right?
Yes.
Did you ever see like what they had? Like they had the original place on the map for the Battle Frontier, and they had like a little model saying the Battle Frontier project has started construction.
Oof.
It's like they thought it was gonna be like a cool reference. People felt like a slap in the face. Like, why would you even include it?
Yeah, that's shameful that they would do that.
And their excuse was, well, kids have like smartphones, and they like to be on their smartphones. We figured, why bother putting the game? They're not going to spend the time playing it anyway.
Yeah, I remember this was a time when
Your
the
mic.
Pokemon Company, my mic again.
Man,
Yeah.
this was a time when the Pokemon Company was like really lazy. Was this like 2016, 2015,
This was 20. I think it came out 2014.
2014? Yeah, that's when they were kind of just like phoning it in. It
Except
seemed
for Gen
like.
5, it looks like they just stopped caring.
Yeah,
Who
that's
needs
when.
quality?
Yeah, that's when I stopped playing. I don't remember. I couldn't tell you anything in X and Y. I don't remember playing those. I think I barely played them, if any.
Yeah, it was just like they had a period of laziness where it's like, why? Because they seem to be, that's like their excuse. Like, it's, oh, well, we don't think people are going to play it, so why bother adding it? It's like, well, it's a remake. You should have it. Like, I don't understand why you wouldn't have it. Although, it'll be, again, like the excuse of, well, it wasn't the original Ruby and Sapphire. It's like, so?
Yeah,
It can't be that hard.
that's what makes Heart Gold and Soul Silver so much better. Is that, as you said earlier, they went above and beyond to add stuff and add
Like,
more to it that makes it more fun and it adds more replay value.
and it's always going to be the definitive Johto experience. Like, unless they make a remake even better than that somehow.
Which I doubt.
I doubt it, but like it's always gonna be the definitive experience. Where again, Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire is not the definitive experience. Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl is not the definitive experience. You know, it's again just like it's curious like why they make these mistakes again. You thought they would have learned.
And I don't know how well Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearls sold,
I think it sold pretty well.
but I would
Of course it
imagine
did.
that if they remade Platinum, that could probably do a lot better because you're remaking the best of the bunch.
Yes, but it's you're only selling one version
Yeah,
of it too.
I know. There's the whole marketing idea behind it, but it just makes no sense where you Platinum's out there and it has more to it. It has the whole battle area, right? In Platinum.
Yeah, the whole, I mean, there's the whole battle frontier. This only has the original battle tower, and the thing about the battle towers, that's been a staple since Gen 2. Like to have the battle tower in a game is considered the standard now. Like you can't pat yourself on the back for having a battle tower. Like that is so stupid. Every
Yes.
game since Crystal's had a battle tower.
Every game.
Every game since Crystal had a battle tower.
Where's Leaf Green's battle tower?
It's in one of the Sevi Islands.
Really?
Yep.
Did not know that.
There's these things I hear like people try to pat the game on the back for, and just it annoys me because it's not even true. Like it's not a great thing to have it. Like it's the bare minimum. But to go on the numbers sold, I just looked up. It's about 15 million copies worldwide as of June
Oh my
30th this
god.
year. Yeah, it's the best-selling remake. It sold much more than I think the original.
Really? That's crazy.
I actually have to double check the original, but still, it sold really well. Like even Sword and Shield, I think they sold like 20 million something copies.
Yeah.
All these bad games are selling well, so why should they make better games? People are still buying them.
I would say though Sword is a lot better than Brilliant Diamond.
Oh,
I would definitely say that. Only because if you're judging, like as I said earlier, it's if you have to think about if the game is better than the original, then that's a problem. A remake should indefinitely, especially for a video game, it should be indefinitely better than its source. And they easily messed that up. Like look at Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Those are not even a question better than the originals. And the original is probably like it Brilliant Diamond is not that much better than the original.
if at all.
Yeah, if at all. I mean, the GTS was so much better than whatever it is now. That I hate it so much. Everyone dumps their really bad Pokemon in there, and you get like Charmanders, and like you can get them in the Grand Underground now. It's nothing. It's so annoying.
Because that's like how people are going to view this game. Like again, as a game itself, I think it's original Diamond and Pearl, which I think is a good enough game. It's just as a remakes are treated differently though, because you have to look at again how is it improved since the original? What changes did they make? What changes did they not make? At least that's how I view it. Because I think remakes should be treated differently. Like when you remake a movie, it's the same thing. Why are you remaking it? What are you doing better? What are you doing different? Is there a point to it existing?
Money.
Oh, besides the money, I'm like Ghostbusters 2016. That was supposed to be like a remake, reboot, and it was terrible. There's no reason for it to exist. I'm obviously making money, but like,
Take it easy over there. Take it easy.
oh,
Yeah.
I can't criticize it.
Nope.
Take it easy. All I'm saying.
But is Paul Feig gonna come out like and start strangling me?
Take it easy. That's it. Simple.
Is that from the movie?
No, it's not from the movie.
No.
Are you crazy?
I don't know. It sounds like you're saying like you're quoting something, so I don't know what you're talking about.
No. Just careful what you say.
Well, I can't criticize it.
So going back to the Brilliant Diamond, I'm trying to think what else they removed or they didn't implement properly or what they changed.
Wait, time out. Did you just? Why would you not want to criticize it?
No, Craig, it's a joke. Oh my god.
Oh, sound like you're being serious for a
No,
second.
no, I'm leaving the sin, by the way. No timeouts.
You're gonna say like, oh, YouTube will.
I don't remember if Cresselia was in. Was Cresselia in the original Diamond?
Yeah,
Or was that something that was added? Okay.
yeah, because you'd go to the island and it would be a roaming Pokemon.
Right, right. You know, the one thing they should have changed is making those roaming ones easier to navigate and get, because they're really annoying to like find sometimes.
Well, yeah, they've always been
I know there's
annoying.
that Poke app, Poketch, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I know there's that, but they're just so annoying, and then they're not worth the hassle you go through to get them. They're really not. Like, you're really gonna use a Cresselia? You kidding me?
Cresselia's pretty good.
Yeah, but still, like the Mesprits and the Lake Trio
Oh, Oxy and Axel.
and
Yeah,
Mesprit, like
Yeah,
not a fan.
like which one was it that started roaming
I think it's
of the
Mesprit.
lake? Yeah, when they were like, oh yeah, you can track it down, I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna go catch other Pokemon. I saw it; it's in my Pokédex. What's the point? No, seriously, I was like, what is the point of this? I'm just gonna go catch Pokemon I actually want. This is too much of a hassle.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, there was the other thing too, which they cut from Platinum was, which is kind of funny because Looker became like a pretty regular character throughout the games, and he was introduced in Platinum. And because this is a faithful remake of Diamond and Pearl, they cut him out of the game.
Oh, really? I didn't even notice.
I mean, not that it's again like it's. I don't think people are gonna cry over the story changes. It's more of just I don't know why you would cut Looker. I mean, this is the generation who's introduced him. It was Platinum he came from. I don't know. It feels weird not to have him. And same thing with like Rodham too. His different forms came from Platinum, and the guy who discovered it, which nobody cares, it was Sharon, the old guy.
I don't remember this at all.
Well, whatever. He was in Platinum only, and they cut him from the game.
Even though
I
the
just
distortion world is not in Platinum a lot, they should have added that back with Garatina.
I know people like say like they missed them. Like, I don't think you really miss. It was pretty memorable, but I don't think
Because
it's
you could
missed.
realistically go into the distortion world once. I know you could technically return afterwards, but you could only go like 5 feet in in Platinum.
Yeah,
It wasn't
I mean
like you could explore it.
you could have had that as a dungeon and turn back cave, but that's too much effort. We're trying to be faithful here.
Yeah. And I know they have the Hall of Origin, right? They have that.
Yeah, which was the unreleased event.
Yeah, they have the Shaman one and the Darkrai, which are all unreleased in America. And I guess I guess they had to add that because they want more legendaries in it.
Yeah, it's like the bare minimum. Like, of course they are going to have it. You have to.
Because it seems like a lot of the new Pokemon are hyper focused on delivering lots and lots of legendaries in each game. And it kind of takes away what makes some of those games special because in one Pokemon game you get that legendary and only that legendary. Maybe like a couple other smaller ones. And now in every game you can get like 20.
See, I don't think it's just the number. I think it's how you get them, because you kind of get them in the most generic way where it feels cheap, like you're at like the car, or like an arcade, like you put the quarter and you spin it and you get like the thing that comes out.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it feels like. Where because in Black and White too, they had a lot of legendaries, but they still felt kind of special. Like you had to go on quests to get them. They aren't just given to you, which I feel like helps make
you
it
didn't even
different.
get like Reshiram or Zekrom until like near the end of the game. Like you didn't even get them at all in the main campaign.
Yeah, I'm also talking about like what is it, the swords of justice and like the other ones,
Oh, those, yeah.
the genies.
I always liked it when you'd get the legendary, like before your 8th gym battle. I always liked that. That was always nice.
Or again, like in Black and White's case, you get it right when you're battling like the main villain.
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of these changes, I don't understand because I mean, this wasn't actually developed by Game Freak. This was actually developed by a third party. If you didn't know that,
I did not know that actually.
not that it helps their case, but it was not because normally Game Freak they're lazy and I
This
guess they're
felt like a
picking.
sellout from Game Freak, honestly.
Well, it wasn't them selling out; it was their third party selling out or a contractor,
Have
whatever.
they designed Pokemon games before? This contractor
Uh,
for Game
I
Freak?
don't think so because Game Freak's done every single. I think this is the first time they've ever. Yeah, I don't think they've ever. No one's ever done a mainline game before.
Wow.
So yeah, this was their first time.
I think they swung and missed.
Huge miss.
Yeah.
Again, not that they were because I think they were busy working on Sword and Shield, Legend Arceus, and Scarlet and Violet all like not at the same time, but like I think they have like
Probably in
because
the
as
big window.
yeah, they don't think they had time to work on this because they try to release a game every year, so they didn't have time. But it was kind of funny. They for as the a company that makes as much money as them, they tend to have very small development teams, which I do not understand. Because that's always their excuse too. Like when they make a mistake, oh, we're sorry, we only have like we're a small development team. Please don't, please understand. And it's like you make all this money. How could you not have a bigger development team? What's wrong with you? Like you're,
Just picture one guy with like a hamster wheel.
I mean, really, like if your games are selling like at least 10 million copies and you can't get like a
Well, they
slightly
obviously
bigger staff.
they don't get all of that. Obviously.
No, your game's just 10 million copies. Like it's more money than that.
Well, what I'm saying is, how much does Nintendo get of that?
Oh, I don't know. But I mean, they also make tons of money from merchandise too. I mean, they make tons and tons of money off Pokemon. In fact, you can't have like a few extra hands working on the game is kind of shocking.
Well, it's probably always be their excuse, so they can still be lazy sellouts. Oh, we can't improve this game because we have a committee of 15 people.
I mean, they have tried to do that before, and the worst part too is the people who defend it, which it always angers me. It's like they have all this money, like this is the best you get. Like you look at other like Nintendo games, like Mario or Zelda, where they're getting like the best teams. They're not just like the best teams, also they're making the best games of their series, of their game genre. And then there's Pokemon, which always feels like it's lagging behind.
Yeah, Pokemon, for me at least, has been kind of bad since after Gen 5. Because Craig, you said not a lot of people like Gen 5 because in Gen 5 you mostly for the whole game have only Gen 5 Pokemon.
Which people went lost their mind over, which is part of the reason why they have a lot of Gen One pandering, from what people understand.
Yeah.
It's like a huge over course correction.
Don't get me wrong, I love my Gen 1 Pokemon, but when it was all just Gen 5, it was like refreshing. And a lot of the Gen
Oh,
5
see,
Pokemon are
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I just like that idea of like, hey, we made a new gen for you. Enjoy, see the gen. Like, what's the point of making a new gen if you just want, the same Gen 1 Pokemons? I do
Well,
get that from their perspective on it. Yeah, I mean, like, we made this new gen, try them out.
yeah, that was the point. They wanted to have like be a brand new kind of fresh experience, like the original Gen One games. That I mean, granted, it'll never be fresh because it's a sequel, but yeah, as close as you can get, like having a new region, new Pokemon. You won't know what to expect. But people complain so much that they course corrected too much, and now you're never going to stop having Gen One Pokemon shoved down your throat.
Yeah, yeah, like, like Colin said, like, don't get me wrong, I love, I have my select few that, I want to play with, But if they were unavailable for whatever reason, I'm sure I'll find a new, some, a few Pokemons at least in that gen that I'll enjoy and I'll add.
Of course, like because you're a sane person, you're not gonna be frothing at the mouth because you don't can't get your Charizard again.
Well, who's Charizard?
Oh, do you not know? It's like the second mascot of Pokemon. Granted, I like Charizard, but like he's
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, that's why like Gen 5 kind of feels like an outlier because even Gen 4 had a lot of Gen 1 in it. Like a good amount, not too many, but it had a good amount. And then Gen 5, at least in the main game, in the main Pokédex, barely had any, if any.
I think they added some in Black and White too, but the original Black and White, nothing until the post game.
Yeah, and that was amazing. Like it really made you like what was there. Because that's all you had. You couldn't be like, "Oh man, I really want my Pidgeotto, or my Butterfree."
Plus, too, that was also the first region outside of Japan, so it kind of also helped make the new experience. Because those you don't know, like obviously the first 4 gens were all inspired by regions in Japan. Univa's in Greater New York City area. For those who aren't aware.
Yeah, the Kanto region of Pokemon is based off of the Kanto region of Japan. Which I didn't know until recently. Like they didn't even change the name of it. They just
I know that either, to be honest. I know I could find it on the map, but I can't tell you what it's named because I don't speak Japanese.
that's okay.
But I guess the way these remakes are going, I am horrified for the Gen 5 remakes. Like I thought these were bad. I can't imagine how bad the Gen 5 remakes will be.
Yeah, and at least for Black and White 2, there was just so much more you can do than in Black and White. I mean, you have like new sections of the map in White 2, and they're gonna ignore that in the remakes, which is a shame.
Because that's the thing too. Like, obviously, people play Pokemon games slightly different. People want to replay it over and over again, like insane people. And there's people like us who I care more about the post game than the main game because the time you spend playing the main game or the campaign of sorts, it's gonna be what like 10, 20 hours. You're gonna put like 5 times that in the post game. So I care much more about the post game because that's where I'm spending all my time.
Yeah, I have like 150 hours on White 2, and almost all of that's from the post game.
Yeah, because you try to do like you like to train your Pokemon, you complete the Pokédex, you can do the various battle facilities. So that's why I care more about the post game. So if they're gonna start cutting stuff out because they're lazy, it's like, well then why would I play it?
Because I don't remember if like that whole World of Pokemon tournament is in the original Black and White, but it's in
It's
there.
not.
Oh, okay.
It's in the second one.
Yeah, that is so much more fun in the second one. And they changed Black and White City, or whatever, Black City and White Forest. They changed that in the second one, and it's so much better in the second one. So it's a shame that they're gonna do that. They're gonna do everyone dirty, and just
Please
make Black
understand, it's
and
a
White.
faithful remake. Please understand.
And don't get me wrong, I really like Black and White, but the sequels are so much better.
I mean, I think most people will agree. Like, I mean, it's people often consider one of the best. I don't think you're gonna have too much of an argument from most sane people. Let's say. I don't know. I guess the point I'm trying to make is like I'm not. People are saying, okay, now let's because people have always been trying to speculate which remake's next. Obviously, Black and White's going to be next, and people seem to be excited for some reason. And I don't understand the
Well,
excitement.
the question is, and this is a larger question, when will the remakes stop? Because soon enough they're going to get to Gen 6, and that was on the 3DS. I think if they are going to keep doing remakes, stop after Gen 5, if you even do Gen 5.
I mean, I think you should.
Gen 5 was 2011. You know, that was 2011, 2012.
I mean, I don't know. I think they should stop personally because this was a disaster. But like you're saying, it's not even just the time too, because the difference between Gen 1 and
And Gen 3 are like night and day.
well, I mean, like the time, like the years. For us, it was like I think 6 years between the two games in the West. In Japan, I think it was 8, but still, that wasn't a long time years wise. But hardware wise, it was a huge improvement.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. How it made more sense to remake Gen 1 in Gen 3 when they did that, because the Game Boy Advanced is so much more powerful than the original Game Boy, and how terrible that game looked with no colors. It was
The
monochrome.
sprites were wonky.
Yeah, it was, the game was broken. The battery on the actual game cartridge could die, and then you lose your data. Like, it was a whole disaster.
Yeah.
And they improved that in Gen 3. I don't think like you can justify remaking DS games because of their art style, and everything's like minuscule, and how like sprites. Those don't really go out of date. Me personally, it's not like remaking a GameCube game to a Switch,
I would say
like a
N64
hyper
gaming.
real. Yeah, an N64 game is a great example, because a lot of those games on the N64 look like trash. They look really bad. So like remaking an N64 game into like even to the Wii would make sense because of how terrible the N64 graphically was. But I don't think you should remake black and white.
I mean, that's like a common thing. People are starting to say now with like remakes of like newer games. Like I mentioned before, like The Last of Us. Graphics aren't improving at the rate they used to the point where like the jump between generations is almost minuscule now. Like
Yeah.
people try to show off the difference between like PS4, PS5s, whatever, Xbox difference games. And obviously there's a difference, but like it's to me not enough to be like, wow, I have to get a PS5 now. The graphics are so good, or I have to buy the remake. The graphics are just so much better. It's like, I can do without it.
Yeah, it's like the jump from PS3 to PS4.
Yeah,
It's like, and even PS4 to PS5, it's, unless you're a big hardware nerd, an average person's gonna be like, I guess it looks better. I don't know. It's not like,
it's
yeah,
it's
you go.
better, but it's not eye popping better. It's like they can throw all the numbers they want at you, but like just the eye test, it's not gonna be like, oh wow. I think at a glance you'd probably think they're the same picture.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not N64 to GameCube. Even GameCube to Wii wasn't that distinguishable, like
Well, I
graphics
mean,
wise.
well, because for Nintendo it wasn't, but like for I think PS2 to PS3 it was much better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Xbox to three and Xbox 360, like those are bigger jumps. And it's just, I don't know, when's it gonna stop for Pokemon? Soon enough, they're gonna be trying remaking Gen 6. That's on the 3DS
Or they remake Fire Red and Leaf Green.
again.
Although it is funny, like if they ever did remake X and Y, they can only go up. I mean, they can't make it worse, right? It can only improve.
Well, you would think that. I don't know.
Yeah, you think, but I don't know. That's the thing too. Like people need to stop remaking games because like there's little you can do to improve it now. Like I
Unless
don't
it's
know.
like a completely broken game like Aliens, like Colonel Marines. Unless you remake that for whatever reason, a game where the AI was like programmed wrong.
I think I told you that story. I ever tell you that story?
Yeah, you said like they misinputted some digits on the code, and if they corrected that code or wrote it out correctly, the AI would have worked.
Yeah, I think it was they spelled a word wrong. I forget what the word was, but they spelled the word wrong. It was one line that they missed, and like the game didn't work. But because someone went in, they fixed that one line. I think it was like I forgot the word, but they spelled that word right, and everything worked so much better. Yeah, it's the little things, man. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't see the point in remaking it.
Would they even remake Gen 5? Because I know, Craig, you said like a lot of people don't like it because of how distant it was from Gen 1 pandering.
I mean, that's definitely like if they remake it, I imagine they'll add Gen 1 pandering.
Oh, man.
I can't see them going without it, but I think people would like it just because it's Pokemon. Like for all the complaints Brilliant Diamond or BDSP had, it sold incredibly well. Like I said, like 15 million copies. I mean,
And
it's kind
Daniel
of
and I
gross, but
are lumped in that 15 million.
yeah.
Impressive.
kind of gross, but
Well, Daniel's involvement isn't as egregious as mine.
well, yeah, I mean, it's not gross from your guys. It's more of just like, this shouldn't have sold as well, but of course it does. Like Sword and Shield, it's one of the best-selling Pokemon games, and people often consider one of the worst ones.
Really, I didn't think it was that bad.
I thought that's not that bad, but like it's also lazy, technically incompetent.
Well, you guys heard me when I was playing. I absolutely hated the more story driven stuff and the cutscenes. I could care less about cutscenes in Pokemon.
Oh yeah, that was like also like notoriously bad.
That was
Yeah.
so annoying.
And you're like a brain dead rival who is the village idiot.
Yeah, Hop is a moron. I hate Hop so much.
He comes up so pumped. I can't wait to be the next champion.
Yeah, loses
He
immediately.
never wins a battle.
That was always the best. Is you would see him walking by, his shoulders slouched, and then you go and beat the person that just just beat him up.
He's having like an existential crisis. Like, wow, I'm so bad at this.
Like even Barry, your rival in Brilliant Diamond, he was more competent and he could present a challenge. Like it was like mowing the grass going against Hop. He was just so bad. He didn't even put up a fight.
Except the grass was already cut.
Yeah, he didn't even put up a fight. It's like Daniel's favorite actor, The Rock, beating up a bunch of kindergarten children. It's not fair.
That are still following a script.
You throw this punch right here, and I punch you through a wall. Okay, what?
I ripped the kid's heart out.
But to put it succinctly, Brilliant Diamond is a very disappointing remake because it's a remake to the T, and they don't add anything new, and they don't change anything that makes the game better. Would you fellas agree?
Oh, I agree because like I agree 100% because if they just added the
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
because they just added the platinum stuff, like you don't have to, in my opinion, do much. Just don't make it worse, Like if they added the platinum stuff, some quality of life changes, I think everyone would have loved it. They're not going far, but it's also you're not making it worse. This is just making it worse than platinum, which is just mind-boggling.
And they should have had like a separate GTS system with whoever has a Brilliant Diamond game. You could trade and Shining Pearl. You can trade amongst those people. They should have kept that. I hate the Wonder Trade. It is so terrible. It is so bad and very annoying to use.
You don't want 20 Bidoofs?
I don't want 20 Cricketots. I could really care less. If I want to, get a Palkia, let's say, I'm willing to trade top dollar Pokemon for that. Let me make that offer. Let me say I want a Palkia and I'll give you this or that for it. But no, I get random Pokemon.
Have you traded with random people online?
It's not even a trade. You put out one Pokemon and then there's like 500 points around the globe it has, and it selects a point randomly and it gives you whoever put up their Pokemon from that point, and you two swap. It could be anything that they have, and it's all lower level Pokemon.
Yeah,
They call it Wonder Trade, but you're randomly trading with strangers.
It's like a Wonder Roulette. It's completely random,
and it's filled with trash.
And it's full of trash.
Yeah, it's stupid. But yeah, I mean, from what you guys have said, I think they definitely should have just remade Platinum. But obviously, from a business standpoint, it makes more sense to do the two. But I would have much rather looked forward to just want Platinum, like the ultimate of those two, and then remake that. But I don't know. I can't I can't complain because I haven't too much because I haven't played the original, not yet. But
Honestly, that's like the difference between our experience. Like again,
yeah,
it's not a bad game. That's why you've obviously enjoyed it. It's just as a remake, it just
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that definitely. But
like I said before, remakes should try to improve.
It's like a Disney Star Wars remake. It's like in Episode 7, where it's
Well,
mostly the same, not enough to differentiate it, and it's frustrating.
see, I was gonna say the live
Oh,
action
Lion King?
movies like The Lion King, like those are like mind boggling. Like, why even make it?
That's very true.
Like, what are the other like Beauty and the Beast or
And the
whatever?
thing is, too, like, uh, Diamond and Pearl are pretty well received, I feel like, amongst everybody. No
Especially
one,
Platinum.
yeah, no one ever says how bad those games ever were, so it didn't feel like you needed to remake it no matter what. Like, it wasn't too big of a generational jump, like, graphically to do it, because the game was fine the way it was on the DS. It was fine.
No, I
And
agree. I mean,
I don't know.
like personally, what I would want going forward would be more to get like a collection. Like instead of having a remake in the game, could you just give us like the original games with some modern features? Like just give us the original Black 2 and White 2 in one cartridge. Have them be able to trade with each other, and call it a day.
Yes. Oh, and don't add the Wonder Trade if you do a remake of Black and White, which they're going to. But don't do that. Please. Don't.
Like I'd rather take like a bunch of ports at this point because at least you know what you're going to get as opposed to these awful remakes that just make it worse.
Oh, and they also added you can walk with your Pokemon.
Yeah, but that that doesn't work from what you've shown me.
Yeah, I have a Dragonite with me, and if you go on your bike, he gets left in the dust. And then he, like, travels back to his Pokemon to pop back out, and you're too far away again, and he keeps doing it. It's really annoying.
yeah,
Because they did it perfectly in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, where they're right behind you the whole time, and they're running as fast as you. So they never get left behind. And it
yeah.
actually feels better having them with you.
I turned it off because it was just useless and annoying. Because then they would also just stand in your way too, at times, like when you're trying to move, and then and then they teleport behind you again. I'm like, just stay behind me. They don't even keep up at all.
I forget. Did you see the Spiritomb one where it's like hopping?
Yeah, I had a Spiritomb also, and he is slower than dirt. He barely moves.
I mean, that one does get me to chuckle, but still, it's like that's kind of incompetent. Like I don't know why he can't just like float or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean,
because what was it in like Sword and Shield? Like if you had like a Garchomp, he would glide behind you.
that kind of had the same problem, but it wasn't as bad when I remember.
But at least he could keep up with you for the most part, like, or at least when you're on foot, he'll stay with you. If you're on a bike, that's it's different, but um, but at least they could keep up with you on foot. This even on foot, they would if I had like a Snorlax, he would take one step and then teleport.
Yeah, it's just I don't know why they like you people play test that. It's like I don't get why they would want that, but what do I know?
Yeah, what do you know?
Also, I want to say add one more thing before
Yes.
you wrap it up, because you guys didn't experience this because you played it well after it came out. But another knock against it when it came out, apparently it was very buggy.
Oh,
Like another knock, like it was like released not finished. They had to like release patches to kind of fix the bugs as they were catching them.
that's
Which again, it's like
terrible.
you rushed the game and you couldn't add this stuff. I don't know. Just another knock against it where it's like it just lazy, no reason for it to exist.
Yeah, it's a shame. I like Diamond. I think Diamond's the second longest I have on like Pokemon hours, like 150. I think I have on it. I don't know. I have a lot of hours on that. And that was the one I played the most. And then to see this terrible remake is upsetting because it could have been a lot. They could have incorporated lots of from Platinum. Because if you're going to remake a gen, why not incorporate everything from the generation? That would make sense. That's what
You would think.
Dark Gold and Soul Silver did. They took from Crystal, Gold, and Silver.
You took from Platinum.
Yeah, they took a lot from everywhere, and they made. That's why probably that's the best Pokemon game because there's so much you can do, and it feels like A remake should also be a retelling of it. It shouldn't just be beat by beat. It should be like a different way of experiencing the game. But that different way is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Not whatever Brilliant Diamond is. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy it enough, but it's still like it could have been a lot better.
Yeah.
Right, Craig?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think my thoughts on it are pretty clear. That's why I didn't play it.
Yeah. But I hope they don't do a black and white.
You know they will.
I know they will. And I'll probably get it because I love me my Zekrom. I love Zekrom. And they're probably going to have a lot of Gen 1 Pokemon in it from the start. Which would be such a shame because that's not how it was.
Your stars, the Gen 1 starters.
I mean, I didn't like the Gen 5 starters, but I still used them because I had no choice. But I still liked all those Pokemon. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever, shill.
Yeah.
Shut up. Any
It's a
final
lot
thoughts?
better. It's a lot better if you're like me and you go backwards in time and you play it before
Yeah,
you play
Daniel's like
before
Benjamin
the
Button.
original.
And we heard Craig's final words, I think.
I think it's pretty clear you know my thoughts are.
Yeah. I think that'll wrap it up. This has been the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased except ours. I'm Colin, and I'll make sure my mic is always fixed properly.
Yeah, schmuck.
Who are you? Say your name.
Oh, I'm Craig.
Yeah.
And I'm Hop.
Yeah, whatever.
As far as Hop can say his own name.
I'm surprised Hop has a functioning brain.